So, I totally didn't just like have to I totally just didn't like sit down and then realize it looked really cool to like sit down like that while the video was recording and then stand up and then press the button to record and then sit back down or anything. I definitely didn't do that. Hey guys again. It's Monday the 20th for you guys. Hope you've been having a nice week. I hope my ramblings from last week, aka about 10 minutes ago for me, were pretty good for you. Hope they were valuable. Essentially, if I didn't get across the message well enough last week, it was essentially that I rambled and spoke about how like I felt like sometimes I'm not in a position where I can actually like give gyan and I can be able to give good advice because I haven't necessarily lived sometimes a life that is good enough that has enough advice that's helped me out to help you out. So I felt that kind of tension essentially, and the fact that I've got to make videos essentially giving kind of advice or helpful tips and stuff. I was thinking, well, if I haven't had like that helpful, I mean, maybe there are some things that I do have a helpful insight in, but yeah, if I'm trying to make kind of advice videos and I haven't really been able to like live a kind of a life that has been from a whole load of good advice, then I don't really have any good advice to give. And so I was in the shower, I was thinking like it's almost like that kind of like, to be dramatic, it's like that that story of like, I have no mouth and I must scream. I have no advice and I must make content. But yeah, so it was a little bit of that, but then my concluding thoughts were, well, like I don't have to say this is advice that will change your life, but I can just say this might be some helpful advice. I'd be interested to hear what you think about it. Maybe experiment with it, see how it goes. That's what I'm doing. I'm experimenting with it at the moment, and we'll see if it's helpful for me. That's probably the better way that I can approach these things. So there was that bit, and then the second bit that I was getting onto was that idea between those two ideas, and this is essentially like it's coming down to, should you follow yourself or should you follow what others think, and I think that, like with most things in life, it's a matter of balance, and it's not like, it isn't necessarily that like here's a seesaw and you have equal weight on either side. Sometimes in order to reach balance on a seesaw, one weight has to be closer or further away or something. The balance isn't getting the opinions to be the same size. The balance is to be able to get them the same size, to proportionate to how helpful they are in your life. It's like the sliders analogy that I gave ages ago. The two bits of thoughts that I had from that were about, should you follow someone else's advice, or when's best to, or well, actually it was more so like, should you follow your advice or should you follow other people's advice? And I was given the example of like how sometimes with the Minecraft YouTuber guy, I pointed out, do you know what, maybe my own advice isn't as good as his advice, because he's probably been in a position where his understanding of something like discipline has been able to allow him to to be able to reach the goals he's wanted to. So, or said in a different way, because also like, it isn't just his thoughts that have made that reality. Otherwise, we'd all be millionaires. it's also his it's his actions and it's his circumstances. So a different way of saying it as well could be that he has been able to get as far as he has, and in reflecting on these things, he has advice that they are that articulate how he's been able to get there. So just the same way that you ask a chef, like when you ask a chef an opinion about how to make something, they're gonna have good advice because they have the life skills to be able to tell good advice, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not articulating it in the way that I want to. So there was that. On the other hand, that maybe sometimes it is best to follow other people's advice than your own, because you look at their life circumstances and you look at yours and you see if their life circumstances are what you want, and then you take it with a pinch of salt. You take it maybe even with more than a pinch of salt, but you see, well, maybe this could work for me. And at the same time, my other story about how I was following Hamza and I was going to look at his advice about 100% of successful people do this exercise. I'm taking the piss. So I don't mean any offense by that. I'm just like, it probably just isn't 100%. Like, it's probably the majority. It's probably like a significant portion, but it isn't necessarily. And that isn't to shit on it and say that it's a terrible idea either. Like the planning for tomorrow. In fact, I'd argue that, as you can see here as well, if I get this coordinated over, I would say that I do follow that, but it's just in a different way. It's slightly tweaked because I have tried what Hamza's done before and it just hasn't worked. So I think the uniting synthesis of ideas I had there, what I wanted to try and explain that I didn't in the end because I just rambled, was kind of twofold. One, it was trust but verify, which is a concept I didn't really understand up until basically yesterday. But essentially, it's trust what the person has to say, so follow along with it, but also verify independently. So I trust that Hamza would give good advice, so I'm gonna follow it because I've seen the circumstances. I feel like I know him fairly well, for as much as I can do as him being some guy on a YouTube video, in a different country and in a different time zone, and only seeing videos of him, never even meeting him. But also verify independently in the sense that follow it along, track it, see if it is actually helpful for you. And perhaps another thing, which goes back to Robert Greene's mastery, is that in that he says that actually you should really if you want to become a master at something, you need to find a mentor and you need to wholly absorb the mentor's viewpoint, and not just make it your own, but in the sense that you should wholly understand it so that you understand it as much as the mentor. But then the way you become a master is you use your key unique viewpoint of the world, and then later, literally 10,000 hours down the line, you then uniquely put your perspective and articulate it and come up with a new way of expressing that same kind of art form or medium or science or whatever through your own unique perspective. And I'm not saying I've spent 10,000 hours on this, but essentially that's what this is. It's its own variation or iteration of the idea of planning. Plan tomorrow plan today what you'll do tomorrow. Except I extend it in this, and I found that works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine. There might only be me in the whole world that this works for, but the important thing is that it works for me, not that other people follow it. So yeah, so that was what I was trying to say. That like, I think that those are two lessons that I can take from this. That, it's helpful to follow other people, but also, and also you should also like understand and humble yourself enough to understand that other people do have a unique experience of life that can teach you a lot, and at the same time you can also, as long as you track it, as long as you observe it well, you can also start to understand, like, hang on, actually, well, this doesn't really work for me, and you should be able to have the confidence to cultivate your life in the unique way that you experience it as well. So yeah. Now moving on, we'll come back to that as a topic as well, like that whole idea of like judging people's ideas by their life as well, because there's a couple more things I want to add to it. I mean, there isn't really much else, but like there is still a little bit more. I'll do that in a different video, but this is the video where I talk about how things have been going for me and Pra and my life and people around me and everything. Maybe less so those things, but yeah, maybe a tiny bit. So we had the New Year's. Fra had one of her friends down. It was really nice to see her again, and we were able to show her around my hometown, which was really nice. I was enjoying that. We didn't go out. It was kind of a bit of a shit show, really. Maybe I shouldn't swear in these. I don't know. It was a bit. It wasn't the best. We ended up just going down to a pub that was in the town, and on other nights, on other New Year's, we've planned out really fun things to do. But this one, it was just no one arranged anything because we were spending all the time going to Japan and planning that out. I think that we all just got we all just had that, and then we never planned New Year's. Christmas was nice as well. Got some nice things such as the webcam you can see me on. I also got some other stuff. I got a couple of cool books. Yeah, not much. Oh, we got a rice cooker as well though. Not much, but all very high quality stuff, and I'm really, really happy with it. Yeah, so that's what's been happening over the last couple of weeks. Back to the project management stuff though. Been stressing about it a little bit, but effectively, if I do 2 hours worth of video content per day for 6 days a week, which will probably equate to about 4 hours, or maybe I don't know, maybe 5 hours every day, I can have it done by I've written it in my journal, but I think it's the 15th of March now. There's about 70 hours worth of video content that I need to watch. No, oh no, yeah. There's about 50 hours worth of 70 hours worth of video content that I've got to watch from now, which is the 7th of January, to the 15th of March next month. So I've kind of got 5 weeks, which also equates to about which is a module a week. But then some of the modules is one of the modules 22 hours, and then the other one's 3. So we'll alternate it around. But yeah, effectively, one of the ways that I've been really helping myself not be overwhelmed by all of it is, 1, I've only set myself 2 things to do, and 2, I'm also breaking the things down into these micromanageable steps. So if I was to say to myself that I've got to do 70 hours worth of videos in the space of just over a month, and that's just playing the video, that isn't even pausing it and writing down anything, then I was sitting there the whole of like yesterday writing this out, thinking, oh shit, like feeling so overwhelmed about all of it. But I broke it down into those steps where I thought, okay, well, like it's this many hours. I've got this many like days. That equals this many like hours per day. And then beyond that as well, I broke it down even further, because even 2 hours, like that's 2 hours of watching just the videos. That isn't 2 hours of working. I then thought to myself, okay, that's probably going to be like realistically 4 hours. But I've eliminated the other stuff. I'm not worrying about health, diet, exercise, even like seeing friends. I'm not worrying about that at the moment. And instead, I'm only focusing on the two things. That frees up so much more space in my day. And it also means that, like, it just means I can actually get the things done. So I've broken it down to like doing like 45 minutes of a video, and then like video and writing, and then have a break. So like wake up in the morning, 45 minutes of a video, have a break, eat some breakfast, and then shower and stuff, and then have another 45-minute sesh, and then that's an hour and a half, and then go out like for like a walk or something, come back in, another 45 minutes. That brings us to 2.25 hours, and then have another break, and then do another 45 minutes, and then you've got to 3 hours. And then like I think realistically I think when I was thinking over, I was thinking it'd be more like 3 hours rather than like 2 hours. And yeah, because I realistically yeah. No, yeah. No, I need to do it by then. I'm just thinking overall. Wait, no, is it? Yeah, okay. No, yeah, I know. I slightly calculated something differently, and I thought I actually realistically only had to do 1 hour 36 minutes a day. But I was saying myself to do 2 hours so then I could be ahead of the game later on. But actually I think I need to do 2 hours. So maybe I'll bump it up even higher so then I can be ahead. But yeah, that's something that I learned, which was just like break things down so that they're so small they don't even seem like an inconvenience, because then it's like, oh well, of course I can do that. Like if you're challenged to read a book, break it down to saying, okay, well I don't have to read the whole thing. Just today I just need to read a page, or I just need to read a chapter. If that's too daunting, just read a page. If that's too daunting, just read a sentence. If that's too daunting, just read a word. And at some point in that, for some people, it genuinely could just be a word. Obviously, it depends on your competence level, but like at some point, it gets to the point where you're like, oh, yeah, of course I could do that, and then just keep on doing that for a certain amount of time, and then eventually the compound thing will come in, and you'll be able to. You enhance the skill the more and more you do it. You'll get better at it, and then you can go for longer and you can do it more. So that was the first thing. The second thing is I've reduced it down to 2 things, and this is also a key thing. I've also changed up what I'm doing now. So no longer am I just before I was cooking and I was doing the project management. Now we've entered a new phase where Prada's taking over the cooking duties. Which is also beneficial for her because she's like trying out a new diet, which is like low FODMAP. And then instead, I'm doing the project management, and then I'm doing something to do with my like getting a driver's license. That's why it says Tom PM project management, and then Tom car. And for prior, as I said before, Pra's kind of alternating it quite a lot. But yeah, that's where we are on the two focuses of each day, and I think I'm making okay progress in them. For the car one, I haven't really started it as much. I'm only just starting to kick back into gear. I'm gonna download the app and like do essentially like half an hour or something per day, just like doing that so I can get my theory up. Because then if I can do my theory, then I can I can get the theory out of the way, and then I can get practice done. Because I might also at the end of this I might have to already like learn or know how to drive before I get the job, so I can actually drive. But yeah, I mean, again, like the exchange of this is that I haven't written down anywhere where I'm going to see my friends. That might be sacrificed a bit. I haven't spent any time. Well, I still spend time with family, but I haven't written it down as a priority. What else? Like, yeah, I'm neglecting my exercise. My muscles aren't what they used to be. There's I'm neglecting my hygiene. Like, I've literally got like a kind of like a rash that I've had for ages now. I know it's okay. I've had it before, but like it just isn't the priority right now, which sounds insane, but it just isn't for me right now. And so yeah, there are things that I'm sacrificing from this. I'm not even looking at getting a job. Like, if I find, if I have the time in the day, then I will look for a job and I'll apply for one. But I'm not even making that the priority. Like, because these things become before everything else. If these things are solved, it helps solve everything else. Like, if I get a job, it will help me like have more money, but it won't help me finish the project management course. If I finish the project management course, then I can get a job out of that, which will give me more money. And so it means that me and Pro are in a situation where it's sometimes a bit sad. Like, we have literally only £12.50 per week between the two of us, but we're but that's just, it will just be like a hard phase that we'll just go through, and then we'll get out of it and we'll be okay. And it just isn't the priority right now. And also it makes for a good kind of like cry story as well, doesn't it? Yeah, so, and then transitioning to the other thing, the 4 areas. Physical health, I'm okay, but obviously I'm neglecting it at the moment. I've got kind of like a weird thing with my hip, but I'll get that sorted out, like when it comes to that stage. Financial, you've already heard, £12.50 a week. Social, my social skills haven't been the best recently, actually. I've kind of just felt a bit more awkward being around people, but I'm not even like seeing that as a negative anymore. I used to be like, I used to really be scared that like, oh my god, if I don't like work, or like, oh, if I don't like, if I don't work in a social setting, I'm just going to become socially isolated and stuff. But I think I've been able to get myself in quite a healthy place where I'm thinking like, and this is from experience, it isn't from like necessarily like just having good thoughts. But I'm like, well, actually, when I'm put in a social setting, after enough time, I become sociable again. Like, and I'm not going to die because the first couple of social situations I have are a bit awkward. If anything, I can laugh at them and I can laugh at how awkward I am being. And it's usually okay, like, just being that kind of transparent and honest. Most people are okay with it. And then mentally, I haven't been the best. I've been fine, but I've also still been like, a bit impatient with like my girlfriend, my Maharani, and there's quite a few things that I do want to work on with my mental health, but and like, yeah, I want to become like just like Uncle Iroh, but that will all come. It will come in its phases, and I'll leave you guys because I'll go and do some other stuff. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the 27th. 20 days from now for me. Yeah. And I'll maybe even record the video like tomorrow or something for that. So then it'll be like the 3rd or something. But yeah. Yeah, I hope that's been helpful and interesting. And I'll see you guys in the next video.